You remembered. Good job.
Wow, look at all those people. I'm just going to mute myself.
Greetings and welcome everyone, all members of climate action groups and organizations all across British Columbia. Tonight we hold our election to choose the directors for the first ever board of the West Coast Climate Action Network. And I invite Connie LaRochelle to offer our territorial acknowledgement.
Thank you, Guy. And I'm honored to be here for your inaugural Board of Directors elections. I'd like to say I am on the traditional territories of the Ktunaxa First Nation. I think it's Ktunaxa Nation, living in Trail, BC. We meet on the traditional lands of many Indigenous peoples in the place that is now known as British Columbia. It's their spiritual and cultural home, which is also the spiritual and cultural home of ourselves as well. We give thanks for the waters, the land, and all of nature. And I want to really say thank you for recognizing and accepting the need to postpone the elections today to pay the respects for the 215 children last week. At some part of tonight, we're hoping for your assistance on getting some ideas, and we're going to be doing an exercise called a waterfall exercise, where we've enabled the chat and the Q&A, and in the chat you're welcome to introduce yourselves. If you would like to put in your pronouns and the traditional territory you're on, you're welcome to do that as well. So I'm going to give that over to Guy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So let's do the waterfall thing now. So think to yourself, go into your chat and write your own territorial acknowledgement, but don't press send. And then we'll all do it together. So just take 5 seconds, get the spelling right. And from the faces I can see, give me a thumbs up when you think that you're ready. One thumb up. I'm waiting for the other. I just got 4 or 5 other thumbs up. Okay, let's do count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now I'll click send for chat. Oh, look at that. My goodness. All pouring in. Fantastic. There we go. And during the evening, do feel free to continue to use the chat for whatever. We now move to the business part of the evening, which is actually a weekend extraordinary general meeting. So pending the election of our new board, we have a temporary board consisting of myself, Sharon Quigley, and Sebastian Sadja, and no other legal members. So as the appointed chair of this board, I call this meeting to order. Bang on the gavel. I ask you to bear with us while we conduct some very necessary and brief board business. I invite Sharon and Sebastian to approve the agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Seconded. Sharon's probably muted. Sharon, can you unmute during this process?
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye, good. We now move to the special business of the evening, the affirmation of voting members. And you have to listen carefully here. In this, I move this motion that, whereas the West Coast Climate Action Network Society is a new organization which has been formed with a temporary legal board in order to file the necessary paperwork. And whereas there are currently only 3 eligible voting members of the West Coast Climate Action Network Society, and whereas democracy and inclusiveness are core values of the West Coast Climate Action Network Society, and whereas those organizations whose representatives have been invited to this meeting have shown interest in the West Coast Climate Action Network Society, you'll see where this is going in a minute, and whereas the representatives of those organizations have already been involved in the work of setting up the society, be it resolved that all organizations that have been invited to send representatives to this general meeting and all individuals who have been invited to this meeting are now considered voting members in good standing for all business conducted or initiated in this meeting, including the election of the board of directors. Can I have that motion be moved
I move this motion.
and seconded?
Seconded.
And because you're all now members, you can all raise your hand to show support, to say you're all members, right? And someone can, I count that as approved. I now move to our regular business, which is just one item, the election of new board members. I move to nominate all 15 candidates for the board. Is this seconded by someone?
Seconded.
And show of support from all present?
Point
Sorry.
of order?
Yes,
Point
Sebastian.
of order.
Yeah, I don't think it's appropriate for the chair to move this. I can
Correct.
move it.
You move it, Sebastian, correct.
I move this motion.
May I have the names read out of the 15 candidates before we vote on it? Or is that after the set move?
If I scramble,
I've got them right here, Guy.
they are, yeah. The 15 candidates are Catherine Maas, Guy Dauncey, Sebastian Sadja, Maya Olmsted, Lily Marsen, Heather Bates, Fiona Koza, Dion Hackett, Kim Trainer, Casey Stein, Tara Shushtarian, Alison Bodine, Eric Minty, Don Goodeve, and Deb Morrison. Do we have, I call the motion, is there approval of this motion? All hands up going, then I count the motion as passed. So now, to ensure impartiality, the board has invited Bob Olmsted to run the election. Bob is the partner of Maya Olmsted, who's running for the board, but we invited him to perform this service nonetheless because of his skills and willingness. None of the candidates has raised any objection. I now invite Bob to introduce himself, to vouch that he will keep the entire process of voting and the results to himself and him alone, and to explain how the evening will run, and then to invite each candidate to speak. Bob, the floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for attending the meeting tonight. I affirm, how's that? That's a good word, isn't it? I affirm that I will be an impartial coordinator of this election. We are using software called Election Buddy to collect and tabulate the votes. I have no ability to manipulate that, even as the coordinator. And we have determined that we will let the software tell us who the 11 elected board members are, but that it will not keep track of what person votes for what candidate. So we will not have that information, nor will we have the actual vote counts for the 11 candidates. I chose the option that said no vote counting, no will be reported. So I don't believe there will be any detailed information even available to me as the coordinator from the Election Buddy software when we get to the end of this process. Are there any questions about that? Okay, not hearing any questions. I will go ahead and explain this process to you. Guy, may I share my screen? Oh, I don't hear you.
Go ahead.
Okay, am I sharing my screen? Nope, not yet. It says host disabled participant screen sharing.
Try it
There we
again,
go.
Bob.
I had to
Okay.
unmute myself. Yes, you can now.
Okay, great. All right. So does everyone see this message that says you're invited to vote? Is that
Yeah.
showing on the screen? This is the content of the email that the software will send to you at 8:30 tonight. So it says you're invited to vote in the election. The voting deadline is tomorrow night at 11:59. So you'll have more than 24 hours to vote. We're using an online system, which we just discussed, and you will each get a unique key, a unique access key, which is at the bottom of the page, and a password. So you can't send your ballot to somebody else. Only one of you will be able to vote. So every person on the mailing list will get one of these emails. Now, the mailing list contains more than one name sometimes we noticed as we were going through it for the same organization. So for example, the mailing list contains info at, I made this up, climatesense.org. But it also may contain Bob at climatesense.org because Bob is the primary contact. 2 emails will go out. If it happens that Bob collects all the mail that says info at climatesense.org, then Bob is going to have 2 ballots. He's going to have 2 emails and the possibility to vote twice. And we're asking you on your honor, don't vote twice for the same organization. It's also possible that some of you are the primary representative for more than one organization. And if that's the case, then we do want you to vote twice. We want you to vote once for climatesense.org and once for treesforbc.org. Because if you represent both of our member organizations, then you should vote once for each member organization. Are there any questions about that? Cool. Okay. So what will happen? You'll get this email. You'll click on the link at the bottom. It'll take you to a page that says enter your access key and enter your password. And remember that your access key and your password were at the bottom of this email. So you'll enter these 2 numbers and you'll press the button and it will take you to the ballot page. Now I can't, if I press it right now, it will tell me that the election hasn't started yet. But I'm going to show you what the ballot page looks like and how you use it. So the ballot page, and I pick preview here, so I'm inside of the election here. The ballot page will come up and it will look like this. It'll say select 11 candidates out of 15. You can click on this word information and see the full bio and endorsements that were submitted by the candidate. You may have also received those as attachments to emails that Guy has sent out, but it's important that you know that if you're curious about somebody and you haven't learned about them, you can click on information for each person. You need to check off 11 boxes. If you don't check off 11 boxes, if you check off fewer or more, when you press verify, you'll get a message back at the top. It looks like there are some errors. Please select exactly 11 candidates. So you'll go through and select exactly 11 candidates. How many do I have so far? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and press verify. Your choices will come up. If you realize, oh, I didn't mean to vote for Don, then you can go back and change it. Otherwise, you'll press submit and it'll say thank you. And you'll get a confirmation email that you voted. And that's all you have to do. That's all you have to do. So that's how that process will work. Are there any questions about the voting?
I have a question. It was my understanding that you could vote up to and including 11. So if you only wanted to vote for 5, you would be able to vote just for those 5.
I hear what you're saying. It wasn't my understanding. I don't know whether the software allows it, but I will look before I press the release button for the voting. To
Are
see
you
whether that's
able to
possible.
just maybe unclick one now and hit submit and see what happens?
I just did. Well, I had only clicked one, which would be up to 11, and it said you have to put in exactly 11.
Hmm.
I can go behind the scenes a little bit. I'm not an expert on this. Sebastian, I think you have some experience with this.
In my test run, it did seem that there was an option to do that. I think it's just something that needs to be selected.
Are you able to offer him any assistance with that, Sebastian?
Oh, I forgot I stopped sharing. I was going to show you the options here. Let me see. Voters choose candidate. Oh, wait, here. 15 choices for, yep, here. Okay, is it agreed that we want to do this, that we want to say up to? Is it, do we agree with that?
I'm seeing
I'm
thumbs
sorry,
going,
I'm not looking at the,
there are thumbs going up that I
That's-
see.
Yeah.
okay,
That's what all the local government, provincial government, federal government provide for.
awesome. Can you see my screen again?
Yes,
You see my election buddy screen?
yes.
Okay, let's preview the ballot again and see what happens. Where's my preview button? Here it is. All right. Da-da-da-da-da. Now it says select up to 11 of 15 candidates. Thank you, Connie. And now I vote for 2. And I say verify. And it says, here are your choices. And I say submit. Perfect. Okay, I just updated this election. And now what do I have to do? I have to go to review. I have to verify the details. It tells me I changed the election. It's giving me back my payment, but I'm going to pay again. And now it says we're ready to go. Okay, so the ballot's been changed. When the ballot comes out at 8:30, you will be able to choose up to 11. Is everybody happy about that? So are there any other questions about the voting? All right, with no other questions about the voting, I think if I can figure out how I can stop sharing and I can go to speaker view. I've been told to provide 2 minutes and be very careful to make sure that you stay at 2 minutes. So I got my trusty Apple timer here. And I'll set it for 2 minutes. And then Guy suggested I pull your names out of a hat, but I'm a data guy, so I produced a random list. I assigned random numbers to who the speakers would be. So the first speaker on my random list is Fiona.
Hi, everybody. My name is Fiona Koza. My daughter just started playing piano in the background. She's doing her piano lesson right now. So such is the nature of Zoom calls in this era. Anyway, I'm really delighted to be here with you today. I'm excited about the opportunity to work with all of you to make BC a leader in climate action. If elected to the board, I would make it a priority to support activists and climate organizations across the province and promote their and your amazing work. I would pay special attention to make sure that a diversity of voices are brought to the fore. I would take care that all regions of the province are well represented and make sure that we as a board and as a network listen to and amplify the voices of marginalized communities, including Indigenous communities, racialized communities, youth, and other communities that are most impacted and affected by climate change. I have worked for social justice and environmental organizations for more than 20 years as a campaigner and as a project leader with a strong emphasis on climate solutions, advocacy, activism, and justice. And I'm confident that I have the skills and experience, personality, and commitment that's needed to help the board work effectively to support the climate movement in BC. If elected to the board, I will strive to build capacity and foster strong collaboration between BC's climate and other allied organizations, because I believe that only by working together can we achieve our goals and protect people and planet from climate catastrophe. I'm determined that society, businesses, and governments start treating the climate crisis like the emergency it is, with a degree of urgency that's so desperately needed right now. Thank you.
Wow, that was great. And I hadn't even gotten to the 15-second warning when you finished. That's fantastic. I'm supposed to have a sign that says 15, and I'll step away during the next 2 minutes and I'll get a sign. I'll make a sign that says 15. Fiona did a great job. There you go. Time to stop. Okay, next up is Guy.
Welcome everyone and greetings. So I'm Guy Dauncey. I live on near Ladysmith on Vancouver Island on the traditional land of the Snuneymuxw and Shnuneymuxw First Nations. I have worked in the climate trenches for around 25 years. I co-founded the BC Sustainable Energy Association back in 2002. And with every year that's passed, I have been simultaneously excited by the potential of the solutions to build a green, better, beautiful world, and by the alarm bells that keep ringing in my belly of fear about where we're heading and how slow we are moving to do what's needed. So last year I spent work in sort of doing two major policy pieces on what's needed for climate solutions, one for the federal and one provincial. In December of last year, I realized this needed to be the year of organizing. So I realized that there are so many climate action groups around BC that don't have any way of coming together, that are on their own, whether they're in Powell River or Squamish or Terrace or Salt Spring. And so I said, let's form this network. So I started with Deb Morrison and with Heather Bates in December to say, let's pull this together. And we had our big launch in January, and we have worked, forgive me for getting emotional, I'm not counting the time either here. We've had a phenomenal group of people working. We had 60 volunteers stand forward after our initial soft launch in June to say, let's work on this, let's make it happen. We've had 6 teams meeting consistently. I think about 60 meetings I've been part of. And we all share the same commitment, both to really tackling the urgency and emergency of these things and to a positive, vibrant vision. And we've all held to the commitment to do all our meetings with kindness and respect. And it's been a great experience doing so. And I want to continue doing that. And I hope you will give me that privilege to continue this big, big task that I started. Thank you.
Another wow. Another absolute wow. Wasn't that great? Okay, next up is Eric.
There we go, unmute. I'm there. Okay. Evening,
Ready?
everybody. My name, are we ready? Sorry?
Yeah, go.
Okay, my name's Eric. I am absolutely delighted to be here amongst such deeply passionate people. I have read through the bios of everybody who is a nominee here, and I'm just blown away. I'm truly impressed at the many accomplishments that everybody here has accumulated over many years. I myself am a relative newcomer to the climate action space just within the last few years, no less passionate or capable, but I do bring a diverse perspective from a career in tech across a dozen or so different industries. Like everyone here, I have always been environmentally conscious. I recall vividly the epiphanal moment that I had when I suddenly realized that awareness was not enough and I was part of the problem. And because I have a conscience, being part of the solution became an imperative for me. And that required me to dismantle my entire life and everything that I've ever believed in. It's very emotional. And I rebuild myself literally to become what I believe is the change we as climate leaders need to exemplify. So I got involved with Force of Nature, local politics, climate caucus, anything I could get my hands on, taking action and listening to a lot of people. And I feel like I'm just getting started, but who am I? What am I all about? I'm, as anyone who knows me, I'm very creative and ambitious, but I'm also pragmatic as a leader. Words like empathy, consensus, servant leadership all have very practical meaning to me. That is how I approach everything. But there's a lesson I'd like to share about how I learned the hard way. And I take this to heart, that it's not about the technology or the ideas or the solutions or how clever that we think we are. It is about people and how every interaction you have with other people leaves them feeling about themselves. And like any situation at all that requires change, we here at this group will succeed, but only by making people everywhere feel good about the contributions that we need them to make. That is when we will be able to pull off the impossible.
Nice job. Okay, so I was told, thanks, Eric. I was told in the chat that the sign came up out of focus, and I don't know whether it's because I held it too close or because I'm using this fuzzy feature in the software, which I don't know how to turn off. But folks, if I hold up a piece of paper, it says 15 seconds, which means you have to stop in 15 seconds. And even if you can't read that it says 15 seconds, I don't know. I think that's what it means. So for the rest of you, if you see me with a piece of paper, it means it's time to wind up.
I think the reason that it wasn't visible is that you have your background set to be blur.
Do you know how to change that? I don't know.
Yeah, on your video icon where the little video camera is, there's a little upward arrow there. If you click on that arrow, one of the things you're going to see is choose virtual background. And if you click on that, you should select none under virtual background and filters, and then it will go away and everything will be in focus.
Cool. All right. So choose virtual background, none. Hey, that looks better. How's the sign? Okay. Next up is Sebastian.
All right, thanks, Bob. My name is Sebastian Saida, and I'm calling from the traditional and unceded territory of the Katsi, Kwantlen, and Semiahmoo people. I'm secretary on the Syrah board, and I participate on many of WeCan's teams with an emphasis on the board team and the members team, although I have regularly attended most team meetings, save for the Learning Hub. I also spent a fair bit of time talking about the structure of WeCan and tried to translate that into our bylaws. If elected, my primary focus beyond making sure the organization functions properly would be to make sure that we are targeting municipalities in addition to the provincial government when planning and executing campaigns. Municipalities have direct or indirect influence over many aspects of both transportation and buildings, two sectors that make up a huge portion of total carbon emissions. This has been my primary focus as a climate activist, first as a volunteer for Force of Nature, then as president of that organization for the past year and a half. I have a pretty good grasp of people-powered campaigns, which is to say data or list-centered campaigns, as well as directly lobbying elected officials. As president of Force of Nature, I have tried to, where possible, lend the support of that organization to other campaigns in the Lower Mainland, or to get out myself to help other groups and make connections as possible. My commitment to coalition building and developing allies is what drew me to WeCan, and I want to take those same commitments into organizing for WeCan going forward, whether I'm elected to the board or not. In terms of skills that I bring to the board, I feel I'm very well-rounded. I have often had to learn new technical skills, new protest tactics, new communication tactics, new policy and science, and so forth. I can usually fill in any role in a campaign. My educational background is in political science. I think I have a decent understanding of the provincial political scene and a good understanding of at least the municipal political scene in the Lower Mainland, as well as at least some contacts in those worlds. Force of Nature was involved in the climate emergency declarations that came out of municipalities from late 2018 to early 2020. It is through this climate emergency lens that I often approach climate politics, and it is the framework I would want WeCan to proceed with going forward. Thank you for listening to my spiel, and thank you to everyone who contributed time to making WeCan a reality.
Nice job. Nice job. There we go. Okay. He's done. All right. Thanks, Sebastian. Next up is Don.
Thank you, everybody. My name's Don Goodeve, and calling in tonight from Campbell River, the traditional unceded territories of the Wewakam and Wewakai. I've been aware of climate as an issue since I was pretty young. Thanks to my dad and his background as a geologist, I was introduced to the situation that was unfolding back in the 1980s. And in various forms, I've been active both in the UK and since I moved to Canada in 1999. I have two teenage boys, extended family in the UK, and I'm very much focused on what they can expect in the years to come and the contribution that I need to make. My background is in engineering, and I also work as a professional coach and facilitator. And my major interest is in cultural change and what it actually takes to create conversations that create transformational change. Now, I believe that for us to be effective as the climate movement and as the West Coast Climate Action Network, we need to be facilitating conversations outside of the norm. If we just end up talking to the same people, nothing is going to shift. It is about consensus building, about introducing people to the idea of power, of possibility, of a shared vision of change, creating alignment, creating support, and supporting ourselves as we do this complex and difficult work. So I believe our culture is in the process of the breakdown that is actually going to lead to that change. We've been in an era of denial. We're going through bargaining. There is anger, and by this polarity, which is shown up in so many ways, there are many people who are facing this from a point of resignation and depression. And there are many people who are making the transition into acceptance and action and being willing to move beyond that. I want to bring my contribution as to know how to bring people together, to change those conversations, and to help the organization transcend old limitations and create the change we need to be. Thank you very much.
Nice job. Nice job. Nice job. I do okay with computer technology, but the phone gets me crazy. Thanks, Don. Next up is Lily.
Hi, I'm Lily Masen, an immigrant settler. I want to give thanks to the Sauk and the Chanu First Nations for your stewardship in the beautiful land, which is Sauk, that I live on. I want to give deep gratitude to my parents who struggled to survive in the face of colonialism in China and exploitation and racism in Canada has allowed me to live a privileged life today. With these privileges comes a responsibility to cherish and protect our planet and its inhabitants, the people, the flora, the fauna, in all its diversity, which is why I am running for this board. What can I offer? Collaboration skills gained from working with students, teachers, peasant farmers, trade unionists, and NGO workers in Papua New Guinea, Thailand, Zimbabwe, and throughout Canada. An understanding of how nonprofit boards work from my experience as a board services officer in QSO. I have a master's degree in management for nonprofit organizations from McGill. Before retirement, I was the national activism coordinator for Amnesty International Canada. I helped organize 120 community groups across Canada to the No More Stolen Sisters campaign, a human rights response to discrimination and violence against Indigenous women in Canada, as well as the campaign to stop the sightseeing dam. I'm deeply passionate and committed to working on climate action. I'm the publicity coordinator and treasurer of Transition Sauk, and I've been active in the climate solutions team at Weekend. Canada's goal is net zero by the year 2050. I will be long dead by then. But I want to see significant change in my lifetime, which is why I want to dedicate the rest of my years to climate emergency. I'd be honored to serve on the board of Weekend. Thank you.
Nice job. Thank you very much. Okay, next up is Deb.
Thank you. I'm Deb Morrison. I'm seeking a position on the board mainly because I have a deep commitment to equity and justice in practices, in participatory practices, in the way that we reach out and invite in, build community, build collaboration. I have extensive skills that I can bring to this work from across many different networks that I built over the years, both as a scientist, as a researcher and learning scientist, as a community activist and organizer. I've worked across broad networks from the Salish Sea region all the way through to the UN. And one of the things that I'm really excited about in working with the network, and part of the reason why I really wanted to help instigate the network, was to be able to mentor and build capacity across the effort with all different community organizations, because I believe strongly that we have responsibility to place, to community, to the non-human environment and organisms, and that to enact that responsibility, we need to be transmitting our message and mentoring others into the work. I'm the author of many, many different articles, practitioner resources, and a recent book.
No. No.
Sorry, am I over time? Or did I just get interrupted? Sorry. So I'm the author of a recent book as well, called Empowering Climate Change in the United States, which I've also tried to work on that effort in Canada, and I'm instigating it as much as possible. So I look forward to working with a really diverse board and fostering as much equity in participation across the entire network as possible in whatever role. Thank you.
Oh, you aren't done. Okay. Thank you. Nice job. Okay, who's up next? Next up is Dion. Oh, that was the end of Deb's time.
Are we ready to go?
We're ready to go.
Thank you very much, Bob. Good evening, everyone. I am absolutely humbled by all the testimonials so far. Wow. So 3 core board member duties are duty of care, duty of loyalty, and duty of obedience. My goal tonight is to convey to each of you sitting out there, because you probably have other things to do, but we're entangled in this mess here. So I just want to share with you my interpretation of the postures that need to be adopted as we move forward. Number one, duty of care means to me that I'll nurture communications with other members of the board, regardless of what personal feelings I may have around other perspectives or values. My feeling is that nobody ever wants to make a bad pass. So it's imperative not to be reactive, and through active listening and respectful dialogue, forged with a bond of a shared vision, we work it out and we build consensus as board members. Number 2, duty of loyalty. I will try to make myself available to all members of this organization in order to build trust and further expedite certain processes that will need attention. In my mind, you know, I'm always looking for a better way, and in my days, I'm always crafting strategies and having conversations and always trying to forward the agenda. Number 3, duty of obedience. Staying on track with agreed upon agendas or terms of reference is key to realizing targets and goals, which is part of my strategy tonight, you know, in terms of outreach. I will, over the next year, be hopefully collaborating with members of this group in order to try and build and understand our situational analysis in terms of where we are, who we are, where we want to go, and how we're going to get there. How are we going to measure our successes or failures? And what are our core activities and related actions going to be? So I'm not sure if you're familiar with the idea of backcasting. It is a visionary exercise where you close your eyes and you envision the world you want to live in. And then we start building a plan to get to that place. And I would really like to get there with all of you. And I'm just so thankful. So anyways, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Next up is Kim.
Thank you, Bob. Sorry, someone's going through the bins outside my apartment. So sorry, there might be a bit of noise. I'm speaking to you from East Vancouver in the traditional unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. I found out very recently about WeCan, so I feel so presumptuous having decided to run for the board, but I just love the idea of this network and I thought it's absolutely necessary. So I thought I'll run anyways, what the heck. We know we're in an emergency, we're running out of time, but ultimately I'm an optimist for my kids, for my students, and for the rich diversity of beings on the planet. And I really do think we can turn things around. I come to you with roots in labor and the education sector and the poetry community. I created and I chair the Douglas College Faculty Association's Climate Emergency Action Committee. And I'm the acting chair of the Climate Committee of the Federation of Post-Secondary Educators. That's our umbrella union. So we're a network of colleges and institutions across BC, and we help our union locals to adopt best practices, things like divestment, auditing of our carbon footprints and so on, and pressuring our institutions to do the same. And the literature courses I teach at Douglas focus on climate change and climate justice and attention to the natural world as a moral and political act. The poetry I write tries to embody this also. So what I can offer to the board, besides being brand new, just shooting in here is my experience as a union member. I'll be a shop steward in September. I have experience as a teacher and a poet and a mom. And I also will bring my contacts from the poetry world and from the post-secondary education sector. So contacts with students and staff and faculty throughout the province with a passion for addressing the climate emergency. And I'm just amazed by all of these fantastic people who've spoken before me. So just thanks for listening and thanks for considering me.
Bingo. Right on. Thank you so much. Next up is Casey.
Hi, everybody. My name is Casey. I'm on the traditional unceded territory of the Syilx Okanagan Nation. I study philosophy, politics, economics at UBCO in Kelowna. I historically have been a big mental health advocate with lived experience. I also care deeply about the climate crisis and about politics in general. In particular, I care about the climate crisis because all the other things that we're fighting for, from a fair economy to, I mean, anything you can name, are dependent on not having fragmented states and all the things that are going to happen if we don't curb our emissions. In addition, I think it's significant that we're the only species to have caused a mass extinction in human history of the world. As somebody who's really close to my dog who got me through my tough times of life, I think it's really important that we look at animals and life in general with more value than we currently do. I also believe that one way that we can achieve that is integrating Indigenous views into the way that we can operate in general, into our principles and everything that we do. Historically, I have involvement with the student union at UBCO 2 years, where I was a youth leader and worked with other youths to reform that organization from a very corrupt past with a lot of scandals to organization that has a much better reputation, works for the students, and I helped with policy and working with the image and reputation primarily, but I also have experience with forming the budget and the strategic plan. In general, I care a lot about politics and I have a big passion for it because I believe that's how we're going to escape the climate crisis and everything else. And I want to help we can through my experience in these areas and my passion. So thank you all for being here to help the climate movement power forward.
Thank you, Casey. Next up is Catherine.
I have to set my own timer here so I can see what's happening. Good evening, everybody. Let me start out by saying I'm talking to you tonight from the unceded territory of the Lekwungen speaking people, otherwise known as Victoria. And I am a mother and a grandmother, and that's an important reason why I want to be involved in this work, because I want to ensure that we're building a livable and sustainable world for our descendants and all other life forms. I began taking climate action in the early 1970s, reducing my use of gasoline, diapering my kids in cloth, and recycling long before there were any easy ways of doing that. My career straddled the arts and the sciences. I was educated in the arts, but I worked in leadership, education, journalism, and communications for most of my career. I spent 20 years in high tech where I was involved in helping engineers improve their interpersonal skills. The strengths that I think I would bring to the board is I excel at communication with strong writing, editing, and oral communication skills. I have a long history of solving problems collaboratively and harmoniously, and teams are where I do my best work. I'm a strong systems thinker with an ability to see patterns and connections between seemingly unrelated events or concepts, and I have governance experience in a wide range of settings, from daycare, strata councils, community associations, interest organizations, and NGOs. Most recently, it's been with Dogwood. And finally, a little known but hopefully interesting fact about me. I grew up in the shadow of prison walls. My father was a prison guard who had a huge social justice ethic, and he raised me to always be aware of the life circumstances that led people to be wherever they are in their lives and to have compassion for others. And this upbringing affected profoundly the person that I became. I hope to be able to bring all of that to the board. I'm very excited about that possibility. I think we are up against powerful forces, but together we can prevail, and it's very exciting to be a part of this. Thank you.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome. Okay, who's next? Tara or Tara. Sorry, I don't know which way to say it. Are you here?
Okay, I'm unmuted.
Okay, that's good. I didn't start you. So
I-
if you're ready to go, are you ready to go?
Yeah, I am.
Go for it.
Good evening, all. I come to you from the unceded traditional territories of the Tsleil-Waututh, the Squamish, the Musqueam, and the Coquitlam nations, Burnaby. As I live near the watch house on Burnaby Mountain, I do this acknowledgement with deep gratitude and a sense of duty and a commitment to the 94 calls to action of the TRC. I stand amongst giants over here. But to quote Bayard Rustin from the Civil Rights Movement, we need in every community a group of angelic troublemakers. This affirms what I have been throughout my life as a child, demanding rights for ladybirds, to the secular political activism in school and university, my marriage, the myriad hats I've worn in my checkered career. So when my family moved from India to Canada about 20 years ago and decided to live on the mountain, it was inevitable that I was hurtled into the politics of the Trans Mountain Project and environmental activism. Migration is never easy. It's a mixed bag, but naively, I was unprepared for the inequities that existed and exist in Canada. This propelled me to join the BC Poverty Coalition, Dogwood Initiative, The Force of Nature, and Fair Vote Canada. The intersectionality of environmental and social justice is inextricably interwoven into democratic rights. I try to bring a nuanced equity lens to climate justice. Currently, I'm serving as a citizen representative with the Burnaby Environment Committee on Burnaby Council, and I'm itching to bring certain policies of WeCan to them. It's not been easy being a woman of South Asian, Hindu Sikh heritage, to have a voice at the table, but I am here. I'm at home with all of you. And I would love to just propel ourselves into a huge seismic change for climate action. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next up is Maya.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me all right? I have Bob on my screen, so I don't know if it's centered on me just yet, but I will go ahead and start talking because my clock is ticking. My name is Maya Olmsted, and in fact, I am Bob Olmsted's partner. This is significant because we've been together for more than 30 years, and we have 6 children together. They range in age from 29 to 37. The reason that matters is because I'm sorry, we're having technical difficulties in our house with both.
We seem to have lost Maya. Bob, are you still
And
there?
Bob. Did we
We
lose
lost
Bob?
Bob as well.
Wait, I'm here.
Oh,
I'm
there's
here.
Bob.
But I just saw lots of different people's pictures pop up, even though they were muted.
Maya seems to have got cut off.
Okay, we'll go to another person and we'll see if she can get back. And she has
she can start again.
She has 1 minute and 21 seconds left. All right, the next person on the list is Heather.
Hi, folks. I'm Heather, and I'm speaking to you from the traditional territory of the Snuneymuxw Nation in Nanaimo. I was born and raised in Greater Vancouver, and I had the privilege of attending university at UBC and then later Simon Fraser University for my graduate studies in clinical psychology. I have a 9-year-old and a 3-year-old, and fortunately a wonderfully supportive partner who keeps things running at home whenever I'm occupied with activism. I got involved in climate advocacy after the 2018 IPCC report opened my eyes to the urgency and the extent of this crisis. First, I worked with Citizens Climate Lobby in Vancouver, and then after moving to the island, I helped set up the Nanaimo Climate Action Hub and the BC Climate Alliance. When I think about We Can, I remember a day from my university years. At UBC, there's an annual longboat canoe racing event, which I participated in when I was about 18 or 19 years old. I had always been physically kind of small and thin, and although I liked sports, I wasn't very strong. I will never forget the feeling of being out on the ocean that day, just flying through the water at an incredible pace as one of my teammates called out, "Power 10," and we all counted out loud through 10 hard strokes. I was not strong, but we were strong, and we went faster than I would have ever thought possible. So when Guy shared his vision with me for a BC-wide climate network back in November, I knew I wanted to get in that boat. We can do more together, and if you all decide that the board needs what I can offer, I'm ready to paddle hard. Thanks.
Wow, that's great. That's great. Short and sweet. I like that very much. Maya, are you back? She's not back. Okay.
I'm back. I'm
Oh,
back.
you're
I can go.
Oh,
I am.
Oh, you went outside. Okay.
I did.
All right.
All right. So tell me when you're
Do you want
starting.
to start over or do you want to keep going?
I would rather start over. It was a bit frustrating, but it's really up to everybody else. So
Please start over.
Start over.
Is that all right? Is that all right? Okay.
Okay, 2 minutes on the clock.
Okay. So my name is Maya Olmsted, and I am Bob Olmsted's partner. We've been together for more than 3 decades, and I speak to that because we've also raised 6 children together. We're now also the parents of 4 in-laws, and we're expecting our first grandchild in August. And like so many of the rest of you, this inspires me to be the best person that I can. It inspires me to want to create a better world. And it's completely a thing that informs every part of who I am, what I do, where I go, and the networks that I bring. I put all of the factual information into my bio, including credentials and job descriptions and skill sets. But what I really can say is that I'm very good at generally bringing completely different people together. And I think that that is what we really need here. I can bring in folks that I know from the investment community. I think I can bring in folks that I know from the activism community in partnership with you. I can bring in academics from that community. I can bring in folks from the US because I'm originally from the US. And I can bring in folks internationally and then here in Canada. I'm also an immigrant. I'm a Jewish immigrant into this community. I chose Canada. I chose BC. I chose to be on Syilx Okanagan unceded lands, and I've been graciously welcomed. And I want to make sure that I am also giving back to that graciousness. So this is a place where I think that I can do that, and I would like to do that with you, and I would like to do that for the future generations as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next up is Allison.
Hi, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be with you here tonight to hear everyone's take on the board and what we're planning on doing together. I'm speaking from the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh unceded and stolen territory in Burnaby, British Columbia. I am here and put myself forward for the board tonight as a voice from the grassroots climate justice activism here in the Lower Mainland. I organize with Climate Convergence, which has brought people together for the last 6 or 7 years to work together on large mobilization projects, big rallies, but in the time of COVID has continued to do so in new and creative ways, using our artistic skills as well as online platforms, which we've all learned way too much about that we don't need any more of in this last year. But professionally, I am an electrical engineering technologist. I work for a green engineering company here in BC. I'm a graduate of UBC and BCIT, but my true passion since I was protesting against the invasion of Iraq as a high school student in Broomfield, Colorado, has been in building for a world of a world of social and environmental justice. I have skills in media relations, meeting facilitation, writing, outreach, mobilizing people, comfortable speaking and working with others and listening as well. I really see this as an extremely important project. Climate Convergence and myself have been on board, and many of the teams putting our time and energy into it because of its critical importance to build collective and coordinated work across the province. And it has been really a pleasure to learn and to talk to people from so many different places across BC. And there is so much potential waiting if we can bring ourselves together. We want to work to elevate the work of climate organizations across BC that are already doing amazing things, but hopefully tie people together also that didn't know how much they had in common. I believe firmly that there's no climate justice without Indigenous rights. I appreciate all the work that's gone into make sure that is the foundation of the West Coast Climate Action Network, and look forward to working with that together on that with you all. It will really be an honor to work with any and all of you. I'm grateful for everything I've learned so far and for everyone that has worked so hard to take us so far. And thank you all for everything. Sorry, Bob.
Thank you. You almost made me be a grouch. Man, oh man, I didn't want to be the old man grouch.
First,
Allison
someone is gonna
was-
not be perfect. Sorry, guys.
Allison was at the end of the list. So I thank you for doing such a good job after waiting so long. Guy, we've now heard from all the candidates. We've talked to the people who've joined the meeting about how the voting will go. Unless there's something else that you need from me right now, I turn the meeting back to you.
Okay. Thank you. Let's everyone put a little bit of heart energy in your reaction buttons down below. We can just give some big hearts and thumbs up to Bob for just doing such a wonderful, simultaneously friendly and humorous and professional job all at the same time. So thank you, Bob. And
thank you.
You were, when we asked you to do this, you accepted with like 3 seconds hesitation. You said, I'll do it. So we also, on our board of directors, we have 2 seats reserved for people who bring an Indigenous perspective. And 2 people have put their names forward to join, maybe to join the board. They want to discuss it with other First Nations people as well. And I'd like to invite both of them to speak now, starting with Connie LaRochelle. The floor is yours, Connie.
Oh, I was going to ask Erin to start.
Do you want, Erin, do you want to go?
Erin, would you do the honors?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So this is Erin Blondeau.
Thank you. I want to apologize if anyone can hear my son crying. It's his bedtime and mommy's busy. So yeah, my apologies. My name is Erin Blondeau. I'm coming in from the Tsubatsit territory, also known as Lake Cowichan. The Tsubatsit people have been on the beautiful shores of Lake Cowichan since time immemorial, and their name means people of the lake. I am Métis on my father's side. We're from the original Red River settlement. We have a very strong Métis identity that is tied into buffalo hunting, moccasin wearing, and beading. And that's very ingrained in every part of me. And on my mother's side, we are British and Prussian, and we are settlers going back a long time in Canada. They were some of the first settlers to get here. I introduced myself in this way as a form of decolonization before I begin talking about my work experience or my academic experience, because it's a way to introduce myself in relation to my family and not in relation to a colonial hierarchy. Colonialism has disconnected me from my heritage, and over the last few years, I've had to work really hard to reconnect with being Métis. My great-grandfather was in a residential school, and my dad was disconnected from his Indigenous heritage. He remembers his parents speaking Michif, which is our traditional language, but he didn't learn any and he didn't pass on any on to me. So I've learned on my own. And in terms of climate change, I knew that I was interested in climate change one night after I had a dream. I had a dream of collapsing cities and fire on the horizon and refugees escaping to the beach. And it was a very traumatizing dream. And I knew from that I had to dedicate my life to building equity and fighting climate change. So I've grown up on the West Coast and I've lived here my whole life. That means I've got to spend time in the ocean. I've got to spend time in the river, climbing mountains, hanging out in ancient forests. And I really want my son to experience that. And the eco anxiety that I have every day, knowing that he might not get to, is just too much. So I've really been dedicating my whole life to this. And in terms of what I can bring to the board, I have a bachelor's degree in anthropology and 9 years of communications and design experience and a whole lot of passion. So I'll just leave it at that. I'm really, really, really excited to be on the board, and I'm really looking forward to working with everyone. Thank you. Marcy, all my relations.
Thank you, Erin. And we're so pleased that you're with us in this family and making things happen. It's great. So Connie, Connie LaRochelle, I now pass the floor over to you.
Hi, thank you for allowing me to speak today. The weekend actually has 4 different ways that First Nations, Indigenous peoples, and Métis people can be involved. And even though I will assist the board, my ultimate goal is if there are other First Nations people who would like to be on the board, I would be more than happy to share that space and contribute in other ways. My career has been working with the provincial government for approximately 10 years. And then I went on a long-term mental health leave for all of the research, researching serial killers of missing and murdered Indigenous women. So I'm looking for a different career. I recognize that being on a board may be able to help other folks in their careers. So I put my name forward, but I really want to encourage other Indigenous people, if they would like to participate, to contact us. I would have a great happiness if they did that. So a little bit about myself. I'm with the Haisla Nation on the West Coast, kind of in the Kitimat, well, the Kitimat area. And I've worked and lived in the traditional territories throughout British Columbia. I've worked for First Nations who have been in treaty and out of treaty. I've done human resources, contract management, and currently I sit on the Electoral District Association for my federal riding for the Green Party as the financial agent. So thank you very much. And if there are others who would like to be considered for the board, do definitely reach out to us from the First Nations. We don't want to exclude you because there's 2 of us that have expressed interest. Thank you.
You're muted, Guy.
Thank you, Connie, and thank you, Erin, for reminding me. It's the phrase of the year, you're on mute. And your presence with us on the Indigenous engagement team and elsewhere is just a real blessing, and we're really, we appreciate so much what you're bringing to us. So at this point, we are going to bring this formal part of the meeting to a close. We will contact all the voting will continue until midnight tomorrow. This meeting's being recorded. As soon as it's finished, it'll be processed. I'll upload it to YouTube, and the first thing tomorrow morning, you'll have an email with the YouTube. Can you mute? Yeah, with the YouTube recording of this. And then when the board first meets, we will select our chair, co-chair, secretary, and treasurer. So with that, I'd like a motion to close the formal part of this meeting. Is it moved by someone?
I so move.
Moved, great. That's from, yep.
Salome.
From Salome, and seconded by someone?
I'll second.
Seconded. You got that, Sebastian?
Yes.
Yes, and all in favor of closing the formal part of this meeting? All in favor, so I declare this meeting ended. And so really there's no other business of tonight. I'll just briefly say we are probably going to hold our full launch in the fall. We have so far 107 at least organizations have become members, and many more are approaching their boards. And before we close, two outstanding commitments. What more can we do to walk the talk with regard to the current moment of critical awakening around what's going on, not just in the residential schools, but I learned today in the special Indian hospitals that were in Vancouver, and in the day schools where there was similar abuse and mistreatment happening that even today, a lot of us just don't know about. So take a second, think about what more you think you personally can do, and we'll share it in the chat. Just give me a line or something, and then we'll do another waterfall. We'll give you sort of, 10 seconds just to think that over, 15 seconds maybe. And then we'll do another waterfall. Then we'll do one more waterfall and we'll close the meeting. And yeah, that'll be it.
Did Connie have something else to add?
Oh, Connie has a hand up. Yes, please, Connie.
I do. Can we have an idea or a suggestion to the board members on when to have the first board meeting? And are board meetings open to membership?
There's two questions there. We will need to send a doodle poll out when we know who's elected to find a time when everyone can meet together, because we can't preset that in advance. And the consensus was we want to be able to build a team and a close family among the board. So we don't really want observers at board meetings. We'll bring guests in for particular topics, but it's not like a council meeting when everyone has to be suddenly on formal behavior. So that's our current, and the board may choose to change that, but that's the current arrangement. So it's a closed meeting to the board, yeah. So let's do that cascade. Are you ready to share in your chats the ways in which you believe you personally can help walk the talk in this moment of critical awareness? 1, 2, 3, share. And you can all see the educate ourselves, helping people understand. Oh, there's too much, I can't read it all out at all. Listen to nature. Engage our homeless population, listen more carefully, embrace our future with our biodiversity. Fantastic. So one more question before we finish, which is this time, let us each share 1 or 2 words on what we most need as a movement to make our work to end the climate and biodiversity emergencies a success. So write your words, 1, 5, whatever words. What do we need as a movement to make our work a success? And then we'll give you, 10 seconds to share your thoughts there. One of the great things about this is we're all learning so many new techniques, including this waterfall technique here. I'm going to leave a bit longer for people to just write in their thoughts, because we can collect these thoughts and we can share them in our newsletter on Friday as a way to inspire and encourage other people to help break the sweetgrass, pull the rope, and as Heather said, row the canoe. Okay, 3, 2, 1, cascade now. And it's all coming through. Coordinated action, outreach, embrace diversity, reconcile with everyone, empathy for others, youth perspective, be gentle in our views, be inclusive, political efficiency, coordinated action. Yes, fantastic. So, and I think that is, we have 10 minutes. If anyone would like to raise their hand, we're out of the formal meeting now. I will actually stop the recording at this point. I'll formally thank everyone for being part of this meeting and close the meeting. Thank you all for being here tonight, but don't leave this call. We're going to carry on.